Today's episode, building garage storage shelves. The first step was aligning each of the 4 legs and marking where I wanted each shelf to lie spacing wise. I originally wanted to do 6 shelves, but was only able to fit 5 based on the storage bins I bought. The next step was cutting all my pieces, so I pulled out my miter saw, had to cut a set of short rails and a set of long rails. This step felt like it took forever, but I suppose it's necessary if you actually want to build the shelves. Here are the fruits of my labor. We got 10 short rails at 21 inches long. Even though you see 12 here, that was in the old plans. There's definitely 10. And now the long rails, those were 60 inches long. The total shelf dimensions were 63 inches in length by 24 inch depth. Now go to the home improvement store and then come back from the home improvement store and pick yourself up one of these pocket hole jig sets. Now I've never used it before. However, I felt like it'd be a good way to build the shelves because it creates clean lines where the screws are concealed to the back. The kit comes with everything you need. However, if you're doing a lot of pocket holes, I wouldn't recommend. I'd get the more expensive one. Here's the drill bit it comes with. Creates these awesome holes like that. This was my first one. I don't consider myself to be an award-winning carpenter by any means, but I'm starting to know enough to be a little bit dangerous. I figured out how to use this pocket hole jig set. This one slips a little bit with the clamps, but we figured it out. So yeah, just keep drilling until the stop collar hits the jig itself. I needed to make 2 pocket holes on each side of the short rails and long rails. As you see right there, there's 2 over there on the right, 2 on the left. Here's a montage, enjoy it. I'm gonna level with you. The pocket hole jig was quite the process, at least with this model. I had to use multiple clamps, it slipped a couple times. We figured it out eventually, but like 3 clamps to get the jig to the workbench and then to the wood. And then after that, you had to take it outside and I dumped off the sawdust so I could limit what's in my garage, even though it's still a bunch in there. Oh yeah, and make 1 more pocket hole right there in the middle to attach the plywood. Now, after the pocket holes were done, we're on to sanding. I cleaned up the edges a little bit from the frays from sawing. And then I wanted to get off the little imprints that come on the 2x4s so it looked nice and clean when the shelf was done. You'll see a close-up shot right here. It's pretty satisfying to actually see the imprint come off. Now, I'm not probably sanding correctly, but you know, it got the job done in my eyes. It erased it. Good job by me. Alright, it's time to assemble the side of the shelf, so get yourself some space. I laid out 2 of my legs here on the garage floor, and then go over and grab your 10 short rails that you created earlier. Set them down and start spacing them. In my case, I went 18 inches apart because it worked well with my bins that I selected. I actually ended up taking some of my scrap 2x4s and cut them down to 18 inches to use them as a spacer, so I ensured each shelf was nice and straight. And then it just comes down to the glue and the screw. And to be honest, I did forget to glue sometimes, but they're screwed in and I think that's what counts. Also, what came in really handy was this speed square, really helpful, creating those 90-degree angles as well. I actually almost put this piece the wrong way. Make sure the pocket hole side is up. To create the other side of the shelf, I simply placed these two legs and the short rails right on top of the one I already made, and then I glued them and screwed them in. I feel like an absolute must for this project is getting these pocket hole clamps. I ended up getting a 2-pack from Amazon, much cheaper than the ones in store that only gave you one. So they are clutch because one end goes into the pocket hole and the other side holds the board in place so you can properly screw it in without anything moving. Here's a close-up. It works super well. Without that, I don't think I would be able to do this project. Alright, the two side rails are complete, and at each step I did the test of strength, so I stood on it for a second, felt sturdy, moved on to the next step. Alright, so day 2. So today we need to finish the shelves. We need to take the long rails and connect it to the sides, and I also have to even out the side rails because there's some unevenness. I'm guessing due to the 2x4s because there's like a curved end and like a flat end, and I didn't have anything to like cut it, make it more straight and smooth. So I'm gonna try to sand it down and hopefully it comes out nice and even and more acceptable for me. And then we have to go get some plywood or OSB, whatever's cheaper, to put for the top of the shelves. Hopefully we get it all done today and I can see it come to fruition. Wish me luck. After a long assessment, I assume OSB is the cheapest route, 28 bucks. Let's do that. So I sanded off some of the joints so it's nice and smooth, and then I did one more test and waved to everyone out there on YouTube. Now it's simply connecting the long rails to each of the side units you build, but the first one was sketchy because it almost fell on me. Sketchy. Alright, attaching these long rails was really helpful to use these C-clamps. I use them to support the long rail and have them line up nicely with the short rails you see on the side. You want to make sure you do that because if you don't, the shelf will be all crooked. Once you get a couple long rails installed, you really start to see the shelf come together. And here's me putting up another long rail and a little time lapse, and then me looking like the dude from Home Improvement talking over the fence. So the shelving frame is essentially done. However, I am going to add some additional supports across right here and right here. I think 2 might be overkill, but I don't want any sagging or, I don't want it to fall or break or whatever. Just want it to be structurally sound. So I don't really feel like cutting 8 more pieces of wood and then drilling 16 more pocket holes. Sounds like a lot of work, but I did it anyway. The process all over again. Pocket hole, undoing it, clamping it, screwing it, doing it. Nice. One more beam. Pretty sturdy. So it holds me, so that's a good sign thus far. Oh. The last step is cutting out the notches on your plywood or OSB. So I simply took my pencil and made a mark around the 2x4 leg and cut out the notches with a jigsaw on each of the 4 corners. All right, it's all cut, so just got to fit it inside the shelf. It was pretty difficult, but eventually after some work and moving around, it fell right into place. Success. The only step I did not do in this project was actually screwing the OSB to the frame because I figure I might change them out in the future. Garage shelves complete. I feel pretty good about it. First in my career. It's good to finally see it come to fruition and be here so we can get all organized. We're gonna have all matching bins and it's gonna look great.